Okay, there we go. Sorry, when I tried to do this earlier, I was able to get one feed going and the other one I couldn't. So let me get the other feed started, and then we're going to start talking about something. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I can't believe I'm actually talking about, but with a lot of the things that I have actually seen recently as it relates to this topic, I felt that I might do a little bit of a spiel on this. I do not know the entirety of some of the arguments that the people who deal with the flat earth side of things are doing, but I do want to kind of let's say I'm going to give it a little bit of a thought here so that I can explain what it is that I know and how I learned it, and that I didn't just take Joe's word about something when I heard about this. There are a lot of historical things that you can go to and find out about why things work the way they do here on this planet. There are more people on this planet than you realize who do believe that the earth is flat. And so, as a folklorist, I will give any particular viewpoint its I'll give it its due, give it its opportunity to kind of explain why they believe the way they do about something. I don't want to ridicule people simply because I don't believe what they do. When it comes to scientific things, though, I have to say that you do need to be a bit careful about how you handle things. One of the one of the reasons why a lot of things that we used to know without question, that we accepted without question, have been challenged here recently has to do with the fact that a lot of scientists, well-known scientists, people that we held in deep respect, are kind of losing a bit of their credibility because there are many people who just do not trust scientists anymore because a lot of things have been going on here recently, especially during COVID and after COVID and before that, where they start to say a bunch of things, and then if you go through the scientific method and you question them about it, they suddenly shut you down. They don't allow you to speak. They don't. It's like, oh, you must not be allowed to say this. You are evil. You are going to be causing a whole lot of problems with people if we allow you to say anything other than we are saying, and therefore we have to shut you up. And then people get silenced. And despite any evidence that these people who have credentials as well that are just as good as these others who seem to be dominating and controlling everything, because you are just shutting down any possible description or explanations other than yours when it comes to the explanation of why things work the way they are, or whether or not one particular item works a certain way. I guess medication, I should say, as well. I'm not going to go into the medication thing because I don't want to start that. But a lot of the things that people are seeing now are, well, I know these people are lying to me about this. What else are they lying to me about? And if you are going out there and you are pretty much saying a bunch of things that you can easily discover that someone could easily discover is not true, they're going to be questioning your credibility, especially if they find out that you're getting money from one group or another. Simply because you are getting money does not necessarily mean that you are wrong. It simply means that people are going to want to know why they cannot hear what another point of view is. Having said that, let's get on to the topic that I have listed here, that the earth is flat. There is a historical idea that I could say that it isn't completely inaccurate. Let's just say that back during Columbus's time, we always hear that people believe that the world is flat, and they didn't want to go over into this part of the world of the globe. If you go this far past where the ocean is, you'll fall off the edge of the earth. Of course, where the water comes from and where it goes when it is flowing in a certain direction, they don't really describe too well. But the idea that nobody in the days of Columbus knew the earth is round is nonsense. He definitely knew that the earth was round, or he had the evidence that has been known for quite some time that the earth was round, that it had a curved surface. And one of the things, of course, that we see as evidence in the early days, even the ancient Greeks knew that the earth had a curved surface. There is an ancient Greek mathematician who lived in the Egyptian city of Siena, I think is how you pronounce that, which is in southern Egypt. And at that time, the Greeks pretty much controlled Egypt. That is the modern day city of Aswan, where the Aswan Dam is that the Egyptians used for electricity and things. So in Siena, there was a mathematician who noticed that there is a well in the city of Siena, and when high noon came overhead and landed on that particular well, that it cast no shadow. At high noon, the sun comes down, there is no shadow on this particular location. It's like, okay, well, I wonder if the same is true if I were to go to this well that is in Alexandria in Egypt, that's about 200 miles away. It's pretty far away, but it's close enough that it should probably do the same thing if they were to go and check out what the sun does there at high noon. So he went there to Alexandria, went to where that well was at high noon, and he noticed that it did cast a shadow. If the earth was round, it should not have cast a shadow. I mean, if the earth was flat, it should not have cast a shadow either. However, it did cast a shadow. And the only way that that could be really explained is that the surface of the earth was curved. And so as we, move on from there, other scientists have kind of picked up on that and looked at a bunch of things. The Greeks were building up their scientific knowledge along those lines. Of course, when the Romans came, a lot of scientific things got shoved in another direction. Then when the Dark Ages came, I know that many people hate to use the term Dark Ages, but in the scientific swing of things, it was definitely Dark Ages. A lot of knowledge, of course, is lost, and a lot of things had to be developed and brought back. But one of the things that was definitely known in many learned circles was about a lot of these Greek mathematical insights that were made back in the the 2nd century BC and onward. There were several mathematicians in the Greek world who were noting a lot of these things. Now, as we move forward throughout history, there were still some people, of course, that needed to be convinced that the earth was round. And like I said, learned people knew the earth was round, but many other people probably didn't. And there are a few different ways in which people can go and find out whether or not the earth is round or the surface of the earth is curved. One of the things that you might do is there is actually a place in the United States. I don't know if that exists on any other continents or other parts of the world, but there is a place mostly in Utah, where we have what are called the salt flats. There is a very large lake called Lake Bonneville that disappeared like 11,000 years ago. And Lake Bonneville, when it dried up, there are a couple small lakes across that area of Idaho, Utah, and Nevada, where you still have a lake here and there. But there is a very large flat surface, what they call the salt flats. It is humongous. You can traverse it. It'll take a little while to traverse it if you were walking. And there is actually a Bonneville Speedway where a racetrack is, and a lot of racing things go on. And some speed limits have been broken going on that particular speedway. But in the when you get to the area near where the two states of Nevada and Utah meet, just a little bit into the salt flat area, you are going to note, if you stand at a certain location and you look straight in front of you, you can actually see the curvature of the earth itself. And it is really something rather interesting to see. You can see the curvature of the earth. You can see that some things kind of stick below the horizons while other things don't. If the earth was flat, you should be able to see that complete shape of that particular object on the far side. But since you don't, the only explanation is there a curved earth. People want to say it's an optical illusion. Say what you will. There is no possible light fixation there when you get to that really large flat area where light can cause this optical illusion of something being curved. You can actually see it. If you want to disregard it, I guess that's up to you. But that is a place where you can actually go and see the curvature of the earth. One of the methods that a European scientist used, I forget the guy's name. I didn't look it up before this video. I should have. But there were a couple different explanations, things that he talked about that sort of demonstrate the curvature of the earth, and that the earth itself is curved, it's round. If you were to go and stand, if you're at the harbor, you're up in one of the towers looking out, and you're looking through a telescope. I don't know if it would work too well without a telescope, because a telescope is the way you would get the best focus on this particular thing. If you look out to sea and you see, over the horizon, you'll notice that when ships come from overseas towards where you're at, you're going to notice that the top of the sail of a ship is the first thing that you'll see. Then you will get larger parts of the mast, and then you'll get the actual shape of the base of the ship. You do not see it all at once when it suddenly becomes visible. You can argue a lot of times that, well, if something's really far away, you're not going to be able to see it anyway, because you cannot see that far. If it's flat earth and it's really far away, you're not going to see it. But because you are seeing the sail first, and then the mast, and then you're seeing the decks of the ship gradually becoming visible as they're moving up across the surface of the ocean there, that can only be possible if there is some curvature there in which you cannot see the whole ship as soon as it comes into view from over the horizon. A lot of people, well, let's just say the people who are not convinced by this need to understand, you really need to look into a lot of engineering things to be able to explain how a lot of these things work. Physicists who can explain how optics work as well. The idea of optical illusions and everything, we see mirages all the time if we're out seeing what we're doing, or you're out in the desert. But to be seeing necessarily these kinds of optical illusions every single time if you're looking out to sea from land up in a tower. And when it comes to seeing things in a distance, if the earth is flat, you should be able to go to, let's say you go to the top of the Empire State Building. That might be a bad example because you can't stand at the very tippy top, but let's just say a building that allows you to be on the roof. If it's really high enough, there is a World Trade Center in Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, many cities have World Trade Centers other than New York, the one that went down. But there's a World Trade Center in Baltimore. If you stand up at a certain point, if you can get it high enough, you can actually see pretty far out from there, past the city, past the other things. And from that point, if you had a telescope and you were looking out, you should be able to see the next city down the line. You should be able to see more cities as we're going farther and farther there across the United States until you get to whatever the end of the earth is. If you're saying, well, telescopes aren't that strong, it's like, well, how do you think those huge telescopes, how do you think they bring a lot of things out to our vision from outer space millions of light years away if the telescopes aren't strong enough to do that? They should be able to stand up there on a tower somewhere, point a telescope in a certain direction. You should be able to see Paris. You should be able to see Beijing. You should be able to see London, whatever, from standing up at that particular point. But you can't because the surface of the earth is curved. One of the other disproving things that people that I've seen deals with the moon. And because of the way the sun's shadow shines off of the moon, it is clear to anyone who is observant that the moon itself is a sphere, it's round. And the people who believe in the flat earth think that the moon is sort of spinning around the surface of the earth. So if some of them believe that the earth is a flat disk, and therefore when the sun and the moon are spinning around to different areas, it's actually moving around the top of a disk itself. I won't go into the very distant astronomical things that would be involved with that, but because I did study astronomy and physics and geology quite a bit before I decided to finish up with folklore. But as you are looking at the moon, you'll notice that the moon stays the same size as it's going through the sky. Now, if you're saying it's orbiting like this around the surface of a flat surface, the moon would not remain the exact same size unless it's a really as far away as it really is. But a lot of the people who believe in the flat earth don't believe the moon is that far away, and the sun isn't that far away. But then if the sun was really far away, the entire planet would be lit up constantly throughout the day, and the moon might be visible, it might not, depends on a few variables. But the idea of the earth being flat and then having things spinning around the top just doesn't hold water. If you're saying you see the size of the moon that is the same constantly as it's going around, but if the sun is also moving around here, then the two objects should be in the sky at the same time. The moon should be shrinking and enlarging as it gets closer to certain areas, and it doesn't, which means the moon's farther away than a lot of them are speculating. And then when the moon is farther away and the sun is farther away than they're speculating, then there would never be any darkness on the surface of the earth. And when I'd ask, well, what's on the edge here of the earth? Well, that's Antarctica, and that's the ice sheets and stuff that go on and on and on. It's like, well, do these sheets end? Are you saying that they continue on forever like the universe does? A lot of us, of course, kind of wonder, okay, the universe is constantly goes on forever, yet it's always expanding, and there's some things there that people have trouble grasping the concept of something so vast as the universe. But coming back down here to Earth, if there's a huge ice sheet that kind of blocks everything, well, what's on the other side of the ice sheet? Certainly some airplane or some person must have gone and looked in that direction at something. The explorers in ancient history or even modern history who were obsessed with finding what the limits of the planet are, they would have gone and they would have found it, and they would have fallen off the earth or whatever. You cannot honestly say that some ice sheet that might be a wall around goes on forever. People climb ice sheets all the time. People would be hiking out there and looking for what the edge of the earth is. So the fact that we have not found an edge of an ice sheet makes it pretty convincing that you don't have a single flat surface. And, if someone's going to jump off the earth, I guess they'll have to pray that well, they'll be dead. We'll just put it that way. And of course, explain how gravity works here, but it doesn't work in other areas. So anyway, that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about today. I don't want to bore you with too many things here, but things like the salt flats, seeing things coming over the horizon, these things cannot be possible without the Earth having a curved surface. And scientists have known about this for a very long time. Like I said, science can be proven to be incorrect, and you have to go and come up with other hypotheses in order to explain things. But at the moment, the people who believe in a flat earth are the ones who have to explain a lot of things, because true, not all flat earthers believe in the exact same thing, but they do all seem to have it's like, this is what I believe, and you're not going to convince me otherwise, no matter what you show me. That, of course, is not a good attitude to have if you want to be taken seriously. Even a lot of the religious people like me, we accept a lot of things on faith and religion, but we're also going to be looking at what the scientists have to say. We'll have that kind of in our backgrounds, and we will compare that and contrast that and see if we can accept this is the explanation, disproving what our faith is and what we believe in. But as of yet, scientists have yet to come up with something convincing to disprove a lot of religious ideas, unlike except for like the ancient aliens people, ancient astronauts, I guess is what they call them. That, of course, I talked about on a different video, and that's not the point of this video. But remember, a lot of things that people believe nowadays are because they just don't trust experts anymore, because they've been lied to too many times by these people. Some of these people will never disengage or remove themselves from this particular topic because maybe they get notoriety from it, they get financial gain from it, and they're not going to admit, oh, well, I guess I was wrong or whatever, and then move on. Most people who make money and fame off of these kinds of this kind of arguing, they are not ever going to stop. They don't want to ever stop doing it, so they'll never accept any other explanation except what their basic idea is. They have to tweak it a little bit to keep it going, even if that tweaking makes things worse. But remember, see who it is that's doing it, seeing what incentives they might have. Just because they are gaining something doesn't mean that they're wrong, but it does mean that if they are unwilling to consider other evidence, and if they are wanting to go and shut you down because they don't want to hear what you have to say, it's like, how dare you say that, this is the way it is, now get out of here. And if they will not even listen to what the other side has to say, then you know that you're going to have to give that particular person a bit of space, because if you can't defend your own viewpoint, then you're not going to be convincing to everyone. So I think I'll end this video here then. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And the next time I talk, I think I will be discussing things like some Arthurian legends and things dealing with Merlin. Here, I just wanted to talk about the historical science behind the Earth. I'll talk to you next time, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Till then, I bid thee adieu.